Assalamualaikum and very good day to everyone. Welcome to our subject ECLE 1213 Science and Technology in Early Childhood Education. So for this week we will be looking at Unit 2, which is Understanding Child Science and Technology Development. Okay, so before we go further, let's focus on what you should learn by the end of our lesson. Okay, so first, you should be able to see how young children naturally enjoy science and technology. Okay, because they are curious and also like to explore. And then secondly, for you to be able to describe young children's capacity for a science at different age from 0 to 6 years old. And then finally, for you to be able to identify the science and technology component in the national standard based preschool curriculum. Okay, so when we talk about science for young children, it's all about sparking their curiosity and eagerness to learn. Okay, so to encourage them to ask a lot of questions about the world around them. Okay, this helps them to learn and think and discover new things. Okay, observing and exploring their environment is also a key. So, what we can do, we can let them touch, see, and feel different things. Okay, so this hands-on experience will make their learning fun and more memorable. All right. And also, as they grow, okay, they'll be able to develop more complex skills. So this is a gradual process, but with the right encouragement and activities, they will be ready to take on a more challenging concept as they learn through the subject. Okay, so remember our goal as an educator is to guide them through the exploration and also experimentation, which is the heart of an inquiry based learning. Okay, now teaching natural science concept to young children. Okay, so it's all about creating a meaningful learning activities. Okay, so creating meaningful learning activities is what capture the children interest. So we would want to encourage them to ask questions and explore the environment, explore the world around them. Okay, so we can start by introducing them a simple experiment and inquiries about the natural world. All right, so this kind of activity should be fun and engaging, which again will spark for their curiosity and creativity. Okay, so by fostering their curiosity, okay, fostering an early interest in this scientific inquiry. Okay, we as the educator, we can help the children to develop a critical thinking skill that definitely will benefit them through their education. Remember again, okay, our goal is to make science more approachable and also enjoyable for the children. When the children enjoy learning, okay, they are more likely to develop a positive attitudes towards a scientific technology. So again, as a teacher, inspire the children, okay, nurture their natural curiosity, encourage them to explore and experiment. This is how we will plant the very basis, the seed for children lifelong learning. Okay, now imagine you as a child. All right, find things that you are curious as a child. Right, so I'll you may do this activity with your lecturers. Okay, take a picture and share your curiosity in class. Now let's look at the importance of technology in early childhood education. Okay, so firstly, okay, we are living in technology era. Okay, technology can make learning fun and engaging. Things of educational apps and interactive whiteboards. So all of these tools is some example of tools that could help children learn in exciting ways. Okay, now not only that, okay, technologies may support for different learning style, various learning style. Some children learn best by seeing or visual. Okay, others learn best by listening or auditory. So tools like a digital art program and music applications. Okay, this what could help us to cater to all of these learning styles, all right? And then again, we have technologies for collaborative projects. Okay, so technology will allow for teamwork. Okay, children can work together on a project using a digital platform. So anyway, but we need to remember, okay, by using technology, it's all about balance. Yeah, so we should use digital tools and along with hands-on activity. Therefore, the children can learn in a different ways. Okay, so let's put this in mind as we continue to explore and use technology in our education. We need to have the balance, the check and balance. Okay. Now, key inquiry skill. So these are some of the important skill we related to science and technology. So this skill could help us to learn and discover new things. Again, especially for science and technology. So the first one, we have questioning and predicting. So this means that asking question and guessing what might happen next. Okay, so it's like being a detective lah. Okay, try to solve a mysteries. And then we have observing. So observing is about watching. Okay, you watch closely, you pay attention to the details. Okay, so observing will help us notice things and also notice things lah. Okay, any things that we uh, might overlook or we might miss lah. Okay, and then we have investigating. Basically, we look deeper into things and we try to find out lah. Okay, exploring and searching for any clues. Okay, so we investigate. And then we have recording the findings, which is also very important. Okay, so it means that we write down or we sketch or draw or what we find out. Okay, and then these recording findings can help us to remember and also share with others about whatever we have investigate or observed. And then finally, we have the collaboration. So collaborate means that we work together with others. Okay, when we share ideas and learn from each other, we can actually discover even more. So these skills are like a tools that could help us to explore whatever we learn about science and technology. So we as the educator, we must use this to help children to become a better learners, especially in science and technology subject. Okay, now moving on to inquiry process. So in inquiry process, it has five main steps lah. Okay, so the first one is engagement. Engagement is where we start to engage or to explore all the material and thinking about question. And then we have the investigation. So investigation is when we pick a specific subject or question to look into more deeply. Okay, and then the next step is experimentation. Experimentation is when we ask question, collect data, make observation, testing. Okay, and then we have analysis. Okay, analysis is when you use all the data that you have gathered, okay, and then look at the results and understand what does the results mean. And then finally we have reflection. Okay, this is when we think about what we have found in the experiments and the analysis, and we discussed it, and then we're going to see how it connects to our original question. Okay, all right. And then steps of the scientific process. Okay, steps. Okay, inquiry. Then we have the scientific process. Okay, so in scientific process also there is a steps. There are four steps in scientific process. Of course, it will start with observation. Okay, again, observation is for you to identify a problem. Okay, you will need notice something or something that needs to be investigated lah. Okay, it starts with observation, and then we move to question formulation. Okay, here is when we create a clear and focused question that we can research. Okay, so it is important that our question is specific and something that we can investigate or it's researchable lah. Okay, and then we do the background research, so means that we look at what other have already discovered about our question. Okay, by doing this, it can help us to understand what is already known and to find what is the gap. Okay, and then finally we have hypothesis lah. We develop a hypothesis. So developing hypothesis is an educated guess that tries to answer our question. So usually we'll use a format like, if this happened, this will be the reason. If that happened, that will be the reason. Usually hypothesis will sound like this lah. So remember, this step will help us to think like a scientist and approach problem in a more logical way. Okay? Okay. All right, and then after that, we have the experimentation whereby we are going to test the idea of our hypothesis. So we'll perform the experiment lah, to see if our hypothesis is correct or wrong. Okay, and then after that, we move to data analysis. So in data analysis, we will look closely in the information that we have collected during our experiment just now. So we will compare and see whether our hypothesis are correct or wrong. Okay, and then finally we will reach to the conclusion. Okay, so after we analyze the data, we decide whether our hypothesis was right or wrong. Okay, we then share our results to report them. So this will help other to learn from our findings too. So remember, okay, experimenting, analyzing, and concluding. Okay, these are the keys of understanding. Okay, in a subject, in the matters of science. Okay, all right. Okay, so these are some of the basic science concept that is important for us to understand in order for us to understand the world around us lah. Okay, we have observing, comparing, okay, classifying, measuring, communicating, inferring, and also predicting. So let me explain to you one by one what does it means. Okay, so observing in science means that we are using our senses. For example, we use touch, hearing, sight, smell, and taste to actually learn the subject matter lah. For example, we can do this experiment with the children. Okay, we can watch the rice dance in water, this experiment. Okay, so when we mix certain things like acid and base, okay, then it will create a reaction, okay, that causing the rice to actually dance and jump around in the water for an effect lah. Okay, so this simple activity shows us that exciting and surprising science can be. So it also helps us to pay attention to detail and the noticeable changes, okay, from the reaction. So observing is actually the first step in understanding science at any age, especially for early childhood education. So it's all about looking and listening closely to learn a new things. Okay, and then moving on to the concepts of comparing in science. Okay, so comparing means that looking at how things are the same or different. Okay, this is a simple but very powerful tools in science. Okay, so the first thing you may do is asking yourself, what will happen if I change this? Okay, so by comparing, we can actually make a prediction and see if our guesses are correct or wrong. Okay, next, maybe you can think about the size. You can compare which object is bigger or which object is smaller. So this helps us understand more about the world. Okay, again, remember comparing is about finding similarities or differences, which is a key step in learning and discovery. Okay, another science concept is classifying. Okay, so this is a step up from comparing. Okay, when we classify, we basically put things into groups. Okay, so first we will look at the different items and decide which group they belong to. Okay, so we can classify by sizes, colors, or texture according to the characteristic. For example, if we look at animal, so we can put them into groups like mammals or birds or reptiles. Okay, then we can go even further and sort them into smaller groups. Okay, so this kind of activity can help children to learn how to organize things in their mind. Remember, classifying will help children to understand how things are connected or different from each other. This can be very great to develop their critical thinking skills. Okay, all right. Okay, going to measuring concept. Okay, so measuring is all about describing quantities. Okay, so it is important to spend time comparing things like weight or size. Okay, so imagine, okay, you have two bananas. How can you tell which one is bigger? So in order for you to do that, you can use tool like weighing scale or a measure tape, okay, to find out. Okay, this kind of activity can actually help children to understand more about the world around them by using simple tools to gather information. Okay, so remember again, measuring is a basic science skill that could help us make understand of our observation. It's not just about number, but it's also exploring and learning. Again, this is an important skills for children, because this can help to build a foundation for understanding a more complex science topic later on in their learning. Moving on to next science concept, which is communicating. So communication in science is all about sharing ideas and findings. Okay, so children should be encouraged to express what they have observed during experiments. Okay, so how can you do this? This can be done in few ways lah. They might write down their results, draw what they have seen, or maybe talk about it with others. Okay, so having this process can actually help the children to understand their observation even better. Okay, it also builds their confidence in speaking and also expressing themselves. All right, so learning, okay, by learning how to report their results, okay, children can develop essential skills that are not only important in science but everyday life as well. Okay. And another one is inferring. Okay, so inferring also an important part of a basic science concept. So when we infer, we use what we already know to actually understand something new. Okay, for example, think about a time when the children took care of a plant by watering it every other day. Okay, now imagine if the classroom was closed for a week. When you return, okay, the plant is what happened, wilting, okay, and the soil is dry. Okay, so what can you do? You may ask the children why they think the plant look different now. Okay, so this activity can help the children to use their past knowledge to figure out their new situation. Okay, this kind of activity or question can encourage them to think about cause and effect, like connecting the plant's health to its need for water. Okay, so by teaching children to infer, we help them to develop reasoning skill that they can use in many areas in their life. Okay, so the last one is predicting. Okay, predicting is all about making good guesses about what might happen. Okay, it's like trying to figure out the end of a story before you get there. You predict. So in our example, we have an egg here and some fresh water. Okay, so we expect the egg to sink because the egg is denser than the water. This means it is heavier for its size compared to water. Okay, so when the children make prediction, it helps them to think and learn about the world, of course. Okay, they can try and see if their guesses are right or wrong. Okay, so we encourage kids to predict and test their ideas. It can be a fun way to learn and discover new things. Okay. All right. So we you will do this activity later with your lecturer in class. Okay, to identify the parts of science and technology in our curriculum. Okay, but for our context, please use the latest curriculum, okay, which is latest curriculum for kindergarten, which is the curriculum Prasekolah 2026, and also for TASCA, please refer to the Permata to identify the science and technology parts inside the curriculum. Basically, for science and technology, okay, it falls under the perkembangan dunia and pemahaman dunia persekitaran. Okay, so this we may do the activity in the class later on. All right, so that will be all for uh, our unit for this time. Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a good day, and we'll be seeing each other in class. Assalamualaikum. Bye.